It's time to talk about the important issues for the natural state. And there's only one place to turn for that. Opportunity Arkansas's Nic Horton. You can find Nic's work at opportunityarkansas.org.
And good Wednesday morning to you. It is just about 19 minutes in front of 8 o'clock, and that means it's time for us to visit with Nic Horton, who's the founder and CEO of Opportunity Arkansas. You can find them at opportunityarkansas.org. And Nic, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the show, if I could say that. How are you this Wednesday? I got all caught up.
Words are hard, Toby. Words are hard, especially when you say them out loud. And I empathize with that.
I'm telling you, people have to deal with that for 3 hours every morning. So,
well, it's a good thing you're not like a talk radio host for a living.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, Nic, an article over the weekend in the DemGaz said that the applications for the Education Freedom accounts are way up this year compared to this time last year, with over 46,000 families applying for these Educational Freedom accounts for the funds. So, if that is the case, why am I hearing about legislators putting up bills to rein in education freedom? Are they not listening to their constituents as we go through this fiscal session?
Well, a lot of good points, a lot of good questions here. I want to say, first of all, this is excellent, extremely exciting news for the state, the program, the people of Arkansas. This is a program, Toby, that that a lot of folks out there worked for 15, 20, 30 years to bring into existence. This was Milton Friedman's dream originally of let's let people decide, let's let parents decide how to use their dollars to educate their kids in the way that they see best. No one knows their kids as well as parents do. And so let's let them make the decision. There's nothing more basic. There's no more basic freedom than that, and being able to decide what to do with your own family and your own children. Mm-hmm. So you're exactly right. There's a ton of demand for this program. There's unprecedented demand for this program. If we haven't yet, we've been tracking these numbers really closely on almost a daily basis. And if we haven't yet exceeded last year's total application total, that will happen in the next few days.
Yes.
And for context, we didn't get to that point until the end of June last year. So we're now still in the month of April, obviously, and these numbers are continuing to go up, up, up. There's a lot of reasons why we're seeing efforts to undermine this program. A lot of it, Toby, frankly, goes back to power and control. Mm-hmm. It's about power and control and about taking us backwards to the way things were, which, by the way, wasn't exactly working out super well. I mean, we've still got to this day roughly 2 out of 3 Arkansas kids that can't read at grade level. I'm going to say that again. We got 2 out of 3 kids in Arkansas that can't read at grade level.
Yeah,
and now the people, the Arkansas Education Association, the teachers union, the public school cabal, if you will, and cartel, they're telling us that the only way to fix the education system is just to go back to the way we were doing it for 150 years, and that will solve everything.
Yeah.
So a lot of this ultimately goes back to those special interests and people that are threatened by education freedom, because they know the impact that it's making, they know the impact it's going to have, and it's going to loosen their grip on the next generation of Arkansans.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are outstanding, like you said, as far as the applications. And I guess there's a portion of people, whatever the number was, 46,000 plus is what the number of applications is right now. But not everyone will use those funds, right, Nic? I mean, some people will apply, they'll get approved, but then their child may end up going to a school that doesn't use EFA funds. And so not everybody of that 46,000 that would use those funds, right? It's not 100% on that, right?
That's right. And sometimes, look, families apply and then they move out of state, or like you said, they end up choosing a different school setting. Sometimes they go back to public school. There's all sorts of factors that can happen there. I believe last year the numbers were something like 51,000 total applications, and then the total number of students ended up right around 44,000 for the school year. And by the way, those numbers can fluctuate even during the school year, because people move out of state or move schools or change, which is part of the beauty of the program, is that parents get to make those decisions and move as needed.
Are there certain education freedom bills that have been proposed here in this fiscal session? What has been proposed and what's been shot down versus are there still any bills pending with education freedom as the point of the bills? Is there anything still out there that they're looking at in this fiscal session?
So the funding for the program has not passed yet, although
Okay.
we are very optimistic that that is going to happen, and hopeful that there's not going to be any sort of big chaos around that vote at this point. But there have been, as you mentioned, a couple of resolutions that were filed, not really supposed to be filed right now, as you know, Toby, and we've
Right.
discussed on the show here. This is a budget session. They're not supposed to be really considering policy matters. But if a member wants to do that, they can go before the Rules Committee and they can ask for a 2/3 vote to suspend the rules and be able to bring up non-budget related items. We saw that happen last week with a really disastrous proposal, frankly, HR 1008. And this was brought forward by a couple of the typical problem children on this issue, in particular, Representative Wooten and State Senator Brian King. They put forward, I want to say, an unserious proposal, although I'll come back to that in a minute. But this is a proposal that would have kicked everyone out of the EFA program that had previously been enrolled in a private school. It would have created new testing mandates. Even though we already have testing in the EFA program, it would have created even more. It would have capped forever and dramatically reduced the amount of funds that can go to homeschool kids, which they're a really important part of the program. They're almost a third of the program now, and they're a huge part of the value and the need for this program, frankly, is homeschool families. So this was an all-out attack on the EFA program. There was a Senate version. It failed miserably. In fact, Toby, here's something interesting for you. I haven't seen this reported anywhere else. This resolution did not even get a motion to pass in committee. That means there was no one in this 11-member, I think, committee. There was not a single member, including 3 Democrats, including 3 extremely liberal Democrats who were unwilling. There was not a single one of them that was willing, rather, to say, yeah, let's take a vote on this.
So just wasting time with this type of a proposal.
Certainly wasting time, but I just think it speaks volumes that you have outspoken, extremely critical opponents of the program on this Rules Committee who weren't even willing to say, yeah, let's take a vote on this. I mean, that's how toxic this was. So it died on the table, but I will just caution, I want to be clear, they're forecasting with this proposal. They are telling us exactly the types of bills and restrictions and strangulations that they're going to try to apply to the Education Freedom Program in the general session next year. So we could sit back and, really feel our oats and like, oh man, look at us. We killed this thing. And it's a great victory. Don't get me wrong, but this is just the start. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what they're going to try next legislative session.
So we're talking with Nic Horton this morning. He is the founder and CEO of Opportunity Arkansas. We're talking about some of the education freedom account situations that have gone on in this fiscal session. But Nic, I want to rotate a little bit to the entire fiscal session, which, as you said, this is about the budget. This is about the governor's budget proposal and approving this. Outside of the EFA situations, how is the budgeting process going? Are there other hurdles that are going on, or is her budget getting the stamp of approval and moving through as it should?
Yeah, there hasn't been a ton of excitement or surprises thus far. I mean, you may have seen, Toby, there's been some news coverage of some folks trying to make a big deal out of former Corrections Secretary Joe Porfiry and his position now in the governor's office. Obviously, the winds shifted, or something shifted dramatically on prison funding. It looks like that's going to be something that either doesn't get brought up or it gets directed to some other type of infrastructure rather than a brand new prison. At least that seems to be where things are going at the moment. But other than a couple of those sort of lightning rod type moments here and there in some committee hearings, the education freedom resolution that we mentioned, that was a big moment and a good defeat, but something sort of out of the ordinary that wasn't necessarily on anyone's radar, I don't think. There was also, I'll mention, because we've gotten some questions from parents about this, homeschool parents and EFA parents who are tracking this. There was also a Senate version, SR 10, of that same really bad strangulation EFA proposal. That died in the Senate yesterday as well. So there's a good update on that side as well. I think that proposal is, for now, completely and fully dead. But yeah, not a ton of surprises overall. We're fine tuning and and getting the budget tuned up going into next fiscal year, which starts in July.
When is this session, this fiscal session? Is it expected to wrap up this week?
I believe the speaker has said they are hoping to wrap up next week.
Okay.
So they're meeting 3 days a week. They're doing really short days,
Mm-hmm.
And they're only meeting on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday right now.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, it sounds like they're on track to be done next week.
I've seen comments from a few different legislators right now that they expect a special session to be called for May to deal with more income tax cuts. One, is that something that you're hearing? And then two, what's the expectation of what the cut might be? I mean, I doubt we're talking about a full elimination of the income tax. And so what type of cut do you think they'll go after in this, assuming this special session happens in May?
Yeah, I would say we don't fully know yet. Obviously, the governor mentioned in the State of the State something about a 0.2 reduction, but then she also used this number of $184 million in cuts, and those two things don't quite tell the whole story. A 0.2 reduction on the personal income tax would be about $50 to $55 million.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take 0.2, that's about $100 million. So there's another 86 million or 84 million in there somewhere. That we're not entirely sure yet. Like there hasn't been a specific proposal that's been publicly released, and
Right.
So we're waiting to see some details on that. To your point, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be a full phase out of the state income tax, although that's what it certainly should be, and we're continuing to advocate for that. We've talked, I know, a lot, Toby, but just as a reminder for folks, payaswegrow.com. If y'all want to see, your listeners want to see our plan for how to do that, there's a really simple, clear way to just say, okay, we're going to put this in state law. If there are surpluses, those surpluses are going to be applied to income tax reductions. Some of it can be set aside for reserves, but the bulk of it needs to go back to the job creators and the taxpayers and back into our economy. I don't think at this point we're going to see that in the special, but there's hope that that's a possibility. And even if not, we're going to continue to talk about that and push for that going into the next legislative session.
I mean, wouldn't that be a nice surprise if they just went after the whole bag of burritos? That would just be tremendous. But I like you said, probably not the expectation.
Well, and I don't see why not. I mean, like what do we have to lose here? I mean, it's a simple plan. There's a ton of support for it, by the way, in the legislature. Right. There's a ton of support, and why not be the governor that says, hey, let's just make this. I ran on this. I said I want to get rid of the state income tax. Let's make it happen. Let's put it in state law and give job creators and taxpayers certainty and put that in place. There's no reason we couldn't do it right now. So again, we're still optimistic that that's going to happen at some point in the next year. Hopeful that it would happen in the special. We just don't know. There's also been talk of other things of maybe collapsing some of the rates and maybe increasing the standard deduction. And there's all sorts of stuff being tossed around. I think the short answer is we just don't fully know what that's going to look like yet, but we'll definitely keep you posted, and it'll be a great topic of discussion. The good news is, Toby, I think everyone's taxes are about to go down. We just don't know how much or exactly the details on that yet.
Well, obviously, fingers crossed that it is substantial. So that would obviously be the best,
right.
and a full elimination would actually be the absolute best. But OpportunityArkansas.org, that is the website that you go to find out everything that Opportunity Arkansas is working on. See their coverage of the fiscal session and then all the other things. Then also payaswegrow.com. That is where you can see specifically about the plan of what a great plan could look like to totally eliminate the income tax. So check that website out as well. And of course, Opportunity Arkansas is on all the social media sites, the YouTube channel, the Facebook, so you can check them out there as well. But Nick, always appreciate you coming on the show. You're always a wealth of information for us, so we appreciate that. And hope you have a good rest of the week, and we'll do it again next Wednesday.
Okay, brother. Can't wait. Thanks as always.